Alright, today's August 3rd, 2025, and we're here in Indiana with Brailley. And we are spotting something very nice. So this is a type of bolete, I think. It's got a very nice, smooth, brown top. I have a couple of ideas of what this might be. If I reveal this where it's coming out of the ground here. What I'm trying to do here is dig out the part of the stem where it burrows into the ground to show that it goes pretty deep. But I wasn't able to get that far because it broke off. The stem was very brittle due to there being a lot of insects living in there and eating off of it. But if I had kept digging, that the bottom of the mushroom, called the shank or the root, would have went way deep into the ground, which tells me that this is what's called a rooting polypore, which is called that because they root deep out in the ground and form these big networks of the fruiting bodies that are interconnected together. And you can see it has white pores on the bottom, but they've been decayed because there's a lot of insects in here, and a very soft brown velvety cap. So this is the rooting polypore. Alright, we're over here, still in Indiana, and I found these mushrooms growing out of a log. You can see this is the spot where I took it out, the wood. And yeah, they're kind of, there's just these small brown mushrooms. They're pretty sturdy, and underneath they got these white gills. It's a pretty distinct feature. I think the gills are pretty distinct for a genus of mushroom called Mycena. You can see that you got some of the gills that go all the way across and down to the spine, the stem. But in between those longer gills, there's these gills that are shorter. They sort of stop halfway through, quarter way through, and some that just barely go. I forgot what that's called, like forked gills or something. I don't think that's what it's called, but there's a name for it. But that's a pretty distinct feature of Mycena mushrooms. I don't know exactly what species this is. It's a black one. I don't think I've seen one of these before. But yeah, it's easy way to identify this mushroom down to the genus. It's pretty difficult to go down to the species for a lot of mushrooms, but at least you go down to the genus. And they have white spores. Alright, after some messing around with this Mycena mushroom, I said I identify it down to the genus. But I don't know yet, but I bet this would be really easy to identify because it's a distinct feature. I was squishing it around a bit, and when you damage the flesh, you bruise it, it bruises black, and it has this black liquid that comes out of it. It's all over my fingers now. So, yeah, it's a really distinct feature. I bet it'll be easy to identify based on that. So I'll make a part 2. And then, you can also see this log. It has 2 types of mushrooms that we're all very familiar with. You see this false turkey tail, Asterium genus, and then this violet-toothed polypore. But you could also see the new little growths here. Here's the Asterium here, and here's the violet-toothed polypore. The violet-toothed polypore kind of forms a little crust of little white things, and then it has larger things growing out of it. And this is a really good thing because you can see the purple edges on this violet-toothed polypore too. So yeah, there's the mushrooms for you. Over here I have 2 clips of 2 mushrooms from the genus Xylaria. So this is not what you would typically think of when you think of Xylaria. You usually think of the dead man's fingers, the black things that stick out. This one's nice and fresh, probably belongs to the species Xylaria flabelliformis. This is the asexual structure, which looks like a paler, oh, here's a nice insect, but it looks like a paler, softer, more branched out type of thing. And those produce asexual spores that will eventually powder off. And then after that, they start to look something more like this. This is probably belongs to the species Xylaria hypoxylon. This is the sexual form. The asexual form doesn't look like the other one. It looks the same as that, except it's just white. But it powders off and forms these black structures, and now it's going to produce sexual spores, where you need 2 of them to join in order to make a new mushroom. Over here we see something that's an atypical behavior of the arthropod community. We have a spider here who's carrying an egg sac, and she's actually going to take care of her babies instead of leaving them to fend for themselves. This is a behavior that's typical of wolf spiders, but this is definitely not a wolf spider here. It'll be way bigger. I'm not sure exactly what species of spider this is, but just to show the behavior, she's carrying her egg sac and protecting it, and eventually they're going to hatch out, and they're going to live on her back until they get older. So here's a spider carrying her eggs. Hello there. Today is my birthday special. Looking for cool things here to celebrate my birthday with Brailley. And so far we found this tree that has some mushrooms growing on it. You can see 2 of them are over here. And there's the other one. So let's take a closer look. It's bright yellow on top. And then on the bottom it has these pores that are also yellow. And let's see. It might be a type of bolete, which oftentimes they might stain blue. This one looks like it might have some brown bruising to it, so I'll be able to identify it later. So this is called a chicken fat bolete, Soleus americanus, and some key features of it are the yellow cap, yellow gills. I don't know if I got a very good shot of it, but you can see on the top of the cap there's some small reddish brown dots there. And when you cut it open or damage it, it will stain brown. Some boletes stain blue, but this one will be brown. And then it should have also a brown spore print. And it's technically edible. I've never tried it before, but I've heard that it's not very good edible. So that's a chicken fat bolete, Soleus americanus. Alright, here we are exploring nature with Brailley. And Brailley's looking for frogs. Maybe once she gets one we can make a video of it, but for now we have these guys that don't run away. These are a type of mushroom, I believe, that belong to the genus Ganoderma. And I'll be able to identify the exact species later, because a distinct feature of these is that, well, they're conch mushrooms. So they grow out of the wood and they have different layers. These are nice fresh baby ones, so these are probably only about a year old. So if you cut it open, they probably wouldn't be the rings. So normally you got the underside that produces spores. But this specific species, the top side also produces spores. So it has these reddish brown spores that are being produced off of the non-fertile surface. So that's a distinct feature of this species that I think would make it easier for me to identify. See, these are the spores that it's producing that I took off of them. You can see there's some that are more prolific, and the spores are spreading all around over here. So if you guys just want to spread their spores, it doesn't matter if it's from their fertile surface or their unfertile surface. This is the Ganoderma species. Come right under this tree. You can see a nice choice specimen of mushrooms. A lot of them are decayed, but I'll find one that's not. Right here. I'll get this big one too. We got these nice brownish yellow mushrooms. They're a little bit scaly on top, especially towards the center. The stems are also scaly. And we got these these gills that are supposed to be white, but you can tell there's some maggots that have been feeding on there. And that's like some of their fecal material, but they're supposed to be white. And they run down the stem. So, and there's no ring on the stem either. So these are a species of mushroom called the ringless honey mushrooms. So these are actually edible mushrooms that a lot of people like to eat. But like anything, anytime you try something new, there's always a chance that your body might respond badly to it. So for example, a lot of people think they just taste very good, but they make me nauseous, so I don't like them. You might like them though. So I'm gonna give them a try, the ringless honey mushroom. Alright, here we have this. We're all familiar with the turkey tail, but I thought this was a really beautiful specimen to show. As you can see, the striations really well on the turkey tail. Nice stripes between the gray and the brown. That's where their name comes from. Their scientific name is called Trametes versicolor, because it's got the alternating colors. So yeah, just some key defining things about turkey tail. They got to have those alternating colors. They could be brown, orange, gray, sometimes a little bit bluish even. And then they have very fine, tiny little hairs on the surface of them as well. And then when we look on the underside, they have these white, bright white pores that are small. They're not very deep, not very wide. So those are the characteristics of turkey tail. I think I've made a video of this before, but I wanted to highlight this specific specimen because I thought it looked really cool. And they're nice and fresh too. So this is a good specimen. Some people like to make tea out of them because I guess it boosts your immunity. And then you can look here and see some that look a little bit different. This one's lighter in color. This one's still brown, but it doesn't have these nice striations like this one. But they're all the same species, even though they're different colors. So this is the turkey tail, Trametes versicolor.